And of course, John, we're going to have to start with the Terry situation. John, how do you read what happened yesterday at Eastern Motors, where he spoke for a while to reporters?
Okay, so we knew that there was frustration because, obviously there hasn't been any movement for a little while. So you knew there was frustration. And he expressed that. He wants to stay here. There's no trade demands or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that would accomplish a whole lot, to be honest. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of teams would love a Terry McLaurin. The hard part is, what would you trade and then sign him for? That's a lot. And I don't see this team wanting to do that because they think they can go somewhere and you're giving up, your second best offensive player. It doesn't help you get there. So draft picks don't help you get, you know what I mean? So, and TJ Watt's not going to be traded for him. So, but he made it clear he wants to be here. That. And I think his value is high here because of how much this community embraces him, but conversely, how much this team needs him. But the other part was there were multiple references to, who he is, what he's gone through here, a stand-up guy during very difficult times. And part of me believes that that's part of what's going on here, that he's been a stalwart for this franchise, again, through the Snyder years, and it was very tough. And he was the guy who would get asked all these questions, but he always just he was very professional, went out and played well.
He was kind of like the spokesperson of the team,
he was a spokesperson. He was the face, right?
Yeah, right.
So,
and he was always positive.
Yes.
Always positive. And so do you feel like you should be rewarded for that? But on the other side, you're going to have, and he brought up the age, and he talked a little bit about that, where it's like, can't you go on a case-by-case basis? Because 30 coming up here is definitely this, and it's why I always felt this would be a tricky one, because they look at it, it's like, you're going to be 30, like we want to get paid, not just because you're 30, but, when the contract going up, you're going to be 33, 34. That's the other part, right? So you have a side here who was not here during the turbulent years. It's gotten better because of them. So you know what I mean? And so that's why there's just a lot of good points, I think, on each side. And but they seem to be at times in conflict with one another with it. So it's not like, I can tell you that this team wants him back. I think they understand how good he is and what he means to the offense. But, and Terry talked a lot about wanting to be valued. And then if you see the hard part throughout all of this is who is the direct comp for him. Just like you're trying to buy a house on the street, you always look at the comps. Who is that direct comp? Like Garrett Wilson signed a deal. Well, Garrett Wilson's only going to turn 25 soon. I think next week he turns 25. That's a hard comp because of that, right?
Yeah, it's a good point, John, because you look at the ages of guys like Garrett Wilson and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Who, at 24, he signed his deal, and he's making a tick over $30 million AAV. Right. So, that's going to be a tough bridge the gap for his agent.
For sure. But then you look at a guy like T. Higgins who's 28.75, something around that point, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's got to be more than that because Terry's the number one guy here.
Yep.
And so it's got to be, DK Metcalf has a deal somewhat similar to Wilson's, not the same guaranteed money. So, which is always the key. The guaranteed money is the key. The average annual whatever is like cosmetics, but it's always the guaranteed money. So, but DK was in the same draft class. The production is similar, and last couple of years it's been better for Terry. But he's 2 years younger. So that's where that age comes into play. And then you can't look at Mike Evans because he signed his when he was around, I think he was 30, going to turn 31, but he had been in the league for 10 years.
Right.
And, and he had kind of leveled off a little bit, whereas, but his deal ultimately was worth $42 million over 2 years. Like that's not a starting point. Here's the other thing. The starting point then becomes if let's say he plays under this contract and then you want to keep him, you franchise him. Well, that'll be like I think I had Joe Corey on my
30.5 or something like
30. that. 30.5, right. So like if you're his side, like, well, is that if this is how it could play out, let's make that the starting point. So, like I said, it's just both sides want to be in business with one another, but it's getting to that right place. And you can't, I know everybody's like, just pay him. Well, you don't operate where you just give someone whatever they want, because it still has to make sense for you. They're
gonna lose the PR war on this though. If they go hard, they're really gonna lose it.
Yeah. Well, this is what, like, this group has done everything very, very well. Like, look at what they've built in a very short time.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of players that they could win that war with. This is a tough one.
This is not the one.
Yeah, it's right. And like, and that's why I say, like, but I don't know, ultimately, I mean, I have a hard time believing it doesn't get done, because they need one another. Yeah. And Terry's value is going to be higher here because of the reason why he'd win that PR battle, because he is beloved and he is embraced here. If he goes somewhere else, then you become a high-priced acquisition. Here, he was the underdog who became the face, who is the beloved guy, and a leader here, right? Mm-hmm. And he's done all those things right. He's highly respected in the locker room. So it's not just the fan base; it's also within the locker room. That's why ultimately, like, this is a smart group running this place. So ultimately, I think they will understand that. And it's, but there's a lot that goes into it. And, again, you can't just, I don't know that anybody really knows the number, but, of all the entire thing. Right. But all of it is why I always thought that this would be a trickier one. But again, both sides are better together, and I think they know that. And you can't go out and compete for a Super Bowl if that's what you're going to do without him.
How do you think it was perceived by the front office? Because I listened to the whole thing, and I thought he came off incredibly well. Very unusual, right, that these guys speak directly to the media and to the fans when they're in the middle of something like this. He didn't give away specifics, but obviously age is the centerpiece of this thing. That's the thing that's kind of holding it all back. I thought he handled himself incredibly well. I know some people think maybe it was a diva-like thing. I didn't get that impression, one iota of it. How do you think the front office perceived it? I thought it was very smart on Terry's behalf, to be honest.
Well, here's the other thing. Like, the front office here isn't talking at all. Yeah. And they're not engaging. Like, you won't get anything from them during this. So
you had to guess.
If I had to guess, I think there's some points that they'd say, like, well, if you could put your side out there, it would balance it out a little bit. But I also think they know that there's no value in that, because one, it would you don't want to, I think, like, they don't negotiate through media, and whether it's on or off the record, right? So, if I had to guess, I think there's probably, I'm sure that they would have some sticking points, whether, like, with, and I don't know exactly what they would say, but, like, let's say if, when it's the no negotiations, well, why is that? That's what I don't know, right?
I feel like they're leaning on him being a good guy, and that they're going to get like this Tony Gwynn, Cal Ripken, hometown discount here, and they're just waiting for that to kick in.
I don't know about that. I don't know that they're waiting for a hometown discount, because I think it's all the other reasons, the age and going forward. Whereas I think, again, when you listen to Terry, I think there's hey, this is what I've also done for this place, right? And Terry's always been really good and thoughtful when you talk to him, and he doesn't pop off, right? I think clearly there's a lot of frustration, but he's not going to sit there and I think like, again, trade me or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Certainly not at this point. But I don't think they're waiting for a hometown discount. I think that, again, the hard part is you have two sides, like this is how we see it and this is how they see it.
Don't you agree that I agree with his sentiment? That you have to sometimes take things on a case-by-case basis. Sure, Father Time is undefeated, but I have a little less wear and tear. Didn't play that much my first couple of years at Ohio State. I'm only in my seventh season. I'm playing at my highest level. I still think I have my best football, but just as fast as I've ever been. I don't know. I think he made a good case.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then it becomes, well, what's the length of the contract that you're looking for compared to what they feel comfortable giving? Because again, it's you're turning 30, but then when you're getting this contract, and you're getting a lot of big money, you're going to be 33. So how, that's, what's it going to look like at that point? But yeah, no, I agree. Like he did not show signs of slowing down last year. I mean, it was the opposite.
Right.
And he has a quarterback that he clicks with and that he was highly productive with, and it was, comparable production before, except for the touchdowns, where it was obviously by far his best year. So, I think that is, but it's not just turning 30. It's what does it look like at 33 when, you're still getting a big number. So that's all, like I said, that's what the sticking point was going to be. And, but they're well aware of what he means. It just has to get done. And, we're still this group has not here, but in other places has done big contracts, right? And I know, Adam Peters was in charge of San Francisco, but he's been there when they've done some other things and, experienced cap and all that, cap guys. So, that it just they haven't done it here, but, there is experience there with with situations, right? Mm-hmm. So, I could see a scenario where does it get done right before camp? Well, it doesn't look like there's the momentum for that at this point. But, at what point in camp do you start to say, like, it's got to get done now? And I know for some people it's like, get done right now. And I understand that. I think in the past, the holdout stuff was always, to me, never good because for both sides, because if you're not in camp, some guys come and get hurt. They're not doing the same stuff. But if you have these hold-ins where you're doing some stuff but not others, then at least you're around and conditioning.
Did you guys ask that? Because I heard a muffled reference to, I think you were asking that.
He wasn't there
yet, right?
He wasn't there.
I was up at Bristol at ESPN, so I missed that one. So I asked it was on NFL Live here in person.
Sounded like that was asked, and he
he was asked where he's working out. Here's one thing I know about McLaurin. He will be in shape. He will be ready.
No doubt.
And that's where you say case by case. Like there are some players you can say like, well, is he doing all of this? Then you don't know. But with McLaurin, I think you can feel pretty safe in saying that he will be in the exact shape he would need to be in because that's just who he is. Yeah. So that's why I say like he'll do exactly what you need him to do to be, but I still think like, if you're holding out like you don't want that here, right? Because everything was so positive last year that, they don't want to have something like that. But, it could be like, does it get done right before the second preseason game or right after that? You still get enough time. We'll see. But, listen, like I said, both sides are better together, and I think they realize that. And
it's just going to get done. It will.
Yeah, it
has to get done, right?
You can't. Again, because I think the key point, it's not just what the fans are saying, which obviously is important, but it's not going to factor. It's what the locker room is feeling. That's a bigger deal because those are the people in the building who understand what he means to them as well. And, he's obviously a highly respected guy in there because of how he's handled himself, because of what he's done and what they know he means to the team.
Hey, John, as this drags on, do you see Jaden becoming more and more vocal in support? And you just think he just sits on the sideline, lets it work out?
I don't know that would, Jaden is very much like, this is what my job is, and his job is to, play quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that he would. I'm sure he would say like, yeah, we want him here, but that's above my pay grade. I mean, they all know. Like, I don't think anything that he says is going to change anything. Do you know what I mean? Like the player, the place knows what he means to them. That's not a secret. So, you know what I mean? Like, any sentiments, it's maybe he goes to them privately and asks, but I don't think he's going to go to, Josh Harris and say, let's get it done.
Right.
There may have been some quarterbacks in the past that may have done stuff like that.
And there's still time. Yeah. I mean, there's still time.
There's still a lot.
I mean, I know he said they haven't talked in a month, and it looks like
but they're clearly playing hardball.
They're very divided, but I mean, I still believe that can change in a day.
I think they're very divided.
Hey, John, I don't know if you mentioned this. If you did, forgive me. I've been reading a bunch of stuff during the interview, but did he mention that he would be a hold-in versus a holdout?
That's what I was asking.
Did you think he would actually show up to camp and just sit on the sideline?
I think he said to be determined. He doesn't know yet.
Yeah. And one thing.
Well, what's your vibe on that? What's your vibe?
It's just a guess. Mm-hmm. But at this point, like, it seems like the trend is to hold in, partly because you don't get fined. It's
right.
$50K a day. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't care how much money you make. Like, that's a lot.
It's a lot of money. Yeah, $50K a day, of course.
Yeah, no. So so that's why the trend has been hold in. Do some minimal stuff and be around. Just not going through team drills or whatever. Yeah. So. I could see that more, and more than anything, it's but it's this is not ideal. And like I said, this is why I always felt this would be tricky, because they're just little things that both sides would have to maneuver and be more comfortable with.
Yeah.
But the one thing that for McLaurin was saying too is just a lot of like, I know where I'm valued and I have my value, and you know what I mean? And I think like this isn't just a hungry, listen, he's going to make a lot of money one way or another. Like, I don't think anybody should shed any tears for what he ultimately makes. But I think when you're in those positions, it's also like, well, do you value me the same as this guy? Like, do you not see me in this guy's range? And it's more about,
it's respect.
You know what I mean?
It definitely is respect.
Well, and it's just like, how do you see me? And I think anybody who's ever gone through a contract negotiation probably understands that. Yes. And you know what I mean? Like, wait, you're paying me less than this guy, so do you not see me in this light? And that's one thing I think, like I said, that the word value came up certainly a few times.
Yeah.
All right, John, we got to run. Appreciate the time as always.
Thanks, John.
All right, thank you, John.
See you,
John
JK.
Keim on the Terry McLaurin contract situation, which will be giving you updates throughout the show. Chick Hernandez is going to join us at 8:45. He was at Eastern Motors yesterday with Terry. Joe Theismann at 9 o'clock, and our pal Steve Sands on the Open Championship from Northern Ireland. He'll join us at 9:45. Don't go anywhere.